Austin hates fun.
He does.
Austin hates fun with all of his being.
I mean, here's what happened, okay? I brought in a big bowl of cheese dip from our favorite Hispanic establishment, and it's delicious. And I wanted to share it with my friends, and you just peed in that. That's what you just did to me in an allegory sense. Yeah. You peed in the cheese dip.
I would in no way, shape, or form do that ever to anything. But you making me listen to What If Cartoons Got Saved, because that's my thing. That's my thing, and you used it against
me. It's your earworm.
It's a wholesome...
It's like you had cheese dip that you know that I love, but you boiled it and then threw it in my face. So you used what I love against me.
No, I brought it here and wanted to share it with my friends because I love it, and then you peed in it and made it bad.
It's just one of the best things.
You took a good thing and made it a bad thing. That's what you did.
To just look at Dane and say, you know, I was thinking the other day, and it'd be like, you son of a bitch.
Well, see, I was driving over here today, and I was like, you know, I would love to play that for my friends because Austin made me think of it, and I've not thought of it in years. And I think it'd be a very fun time. And then you peed all up in that queso. Yeah. I even got the fancy queso with the chorizo in it.
I thought we were talking about that, not Reba McEntire.
What?
Fancy queso. Never mind.
See? Ruin the fun.
Yeah, there you are.
You pissed in the queso. Once again, we just got the piss out of the queso, and here you are again.
There you are, putting it back
Marcus,
in.
how do you feel about pissy queso? Hey everybody, I'm Dane Holland.
I'm Austin Shazam Pfeiffer.
I'm Marcus, I'm Electric Man.
And I'm Austin Tiny Zent.
And this is Nerded Through the Grapevine, the podcast where four best friends gather weekly to talk about our favorite parts of past, present, and future nerd culture. And it just feels right again. Thank you, Tiny. There was a hole in both my heart and the room last week.
Yeah.
So I'm
that
glad
you
you're here
usually
now.
fill.
I know.
Yeah.
I know I was sicky.
You are sicky, and Austin was sicky during the recording of that. Turns out he had the flu, and then now I'm all stuffy today. So Marcus, you're next.
I've been ascending all day.
Oh, really? Oh,
whoa!
Never mind. Yeah.
So we've all been sicky.
Yeah, we've all been sicky. Wonderful. We're getting out of our system.
You know, they talk about, it's the most wonderful time of the year. It's only because everybody's sick at the same time. And what happens? Does everybody just, pretend like we went through a pandemic a couple years ago or something like that and just go ahead and stay at home? Nope. We all go out shopping at the same time together.
Like Friday shopping.
Kindred spirits of hatred going to make sure people know we love them.
Yeah. Everyone hates everyone equally on Black Friday.
Yes.
And that's the purest form of love I think we'll find.
Yep. I hate everyone equally all the time.
All the time. Yeah.
So I'm better.
Just period.
Yeah.
Oh. I don't really know how to get into what we're going to talk about today, but recently the Weird Al movie came out. Is it out?
It is
to
out.
Be able to view?
It is available on the Roku
really?
channel, I believe.
For purchase?
No, if you have the Roku channel and the subscription, you get it.
Oh, really? Well, I don't have that.
So we would have to purchase it.
Yeah, I doubt many of our listeners have the Roku channel as well. But just so you know, there's a movie out there right now it's a Weird Al documentary, but it's not a documentary. It's a mockumentary. But it's not a mockumentary. It's a parody of a mockumentary.
That made sense to everybody, right?
Let that marinate for a minute. Yeah. And Daniel Radcliffe is playing Weird Al?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, in this. And
it's so weird that he is...
It's Weird Al, yeah.
Continuing to change the places that he puts his face to. I mean, the Harry Potter thing would be a hard box to break out of, but then he's gone into some insane movies, and now... he's getting some pretty positive reviews for his over the top portrayal in this mockumentary thing of Weird Al.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, if it's a parody of a mockumentary, wouldn't that make it just a documentary and like straight up the truth, like serious, no filter?
You're saying like a double negative situation?
Yeah, like you multiply -1 times -1, you get +1.
Well, see, like a mockumentary can be like, I think The Office can be considered like a mockumentary, or Community, or Modern Family, to where there's a camera following around this family like it's a documentary, but it's all, made up in fiction or whatever. But this
and they're comedies.
They're comedies, exactly. But this goes beyond that because Weird Al, I think it was Weird Al that said this movie has nothing to do with his real life, but it makes it seem like it's a documentary about his real life.
Like the recent internet searches that have been trying to investigate the relationship between Weird Al and Madonna. That was manufactured for the movie, but it was done in such a convincing, funny way that everybody that's watched it has been kind of like, what's the real history on that? Did they really have a thing? Hell no! Hell no!
She wouldn't be caught dead with that, man.
They both have great hair.
True.
She probably said yes one time to a surgeon, and that's the only conversation they ever had. And that was the parody.
And that was their PR people.
Yeah, Like a Surgeon was Weird Al's parody of Like a Virgin by Madonna, and he had to get
for the very first time,
like a surgeon, with my scalpels and my forceps.
I haven't seen this mockumentary. We'll just call it mockumentary, right? Yeah, because basically what you said, mockumentary is
Yeah.
well, and
it's
a lot
a
of times
parody.
just a parody of documentary.
Well, it's parodying those because how many have we had lately? We've had the Freddie Mercury. There was a Elton John one coming out. Elvis.
Queen
and then
was
what's probably the best one of them all was the Johnny Cash one.
yes.
And so it's none of those were actually historically accurate, and it's
Right.
kind of annoying sometimes. It's almost lying, about
Right.
the person. It could
I don't think
it could
that's
be
almost.
argued.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Right, but we also understand as we go into it that this is a dramatized version and which parts of it are real or whatever, but I don't know. It can come off as a little dishonest sometimes.
Yeah.
And so that's a good way to do that. They're parodying that. He's obviously just sensationalizing his life.
Yeah, he wanted to make a parody of a biopic.
Right.
He wanted to make that done in a way to where it's giving you just the straightforward, unabashed truth. But is it?
No.
No, not at all.
The change in this from something like Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, which
That was a true story based on real life events.
You got a chicken laugh out of me. It sounded like somebody strangled a chicken.
God,
so
that
much.
movie got some chicken laughs out of me.
oh, me too. It's one of my favorite comedies of all time. But
You don't want any of this, Dewey. You don't want any of this. It's a habit forming. No. It's real bad.
But the Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, is a parody of
Walk the Line.
Walk the Line, right, from Johnny Cash. But in that movie, they didn't use Johnny Cash as the main character. It was Dewey Cox being the parody of Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
But in this, Weird Al is the character in the movie. And I think that's what is the big difference between it and even something like a Walk Hard, which is a straight up parody of obviously Johnny Cash. This is where not only was he yes, you may use me as the main character of this movie, he's involved with it, wanting to make it as ridiculous as possible in Weird Al fashion. He's taking
he's
this
a parody
movie genre.
artist.
Yeah.
That's what he's always done.
Well,
Right.
Also, and Daniel Radcliffe is Weird Al throughout the entirety of the movie, including when he's singing. But he's not actually singing, of course. Weird Al is singing the part of Weird Al. So
I just hope that it's all shot early 2000s vlog style, where he's sitting there holding the camera and you just see everything else going on behind him while he talks about it. That's what I want to see.
His story starts out in the early 80s, though, I think.
I know, but that's just the style I want to see it shot in.
It's got to be all the styles, Tiny,
Or
if they're going to be true to the history.
or Blair
I
Witch.
mean, to be fair, or Blair Witch style. To be fair, it's about time he did a parody movie thing.
actually,
I mean, how long has it been?
I think
He's not been relevant for a long time. It just
Exactly.
seems like.
Hey, you take that back.
Oh no!
Even though I just agreed, you take that back.
I think that they did change a little bit of the way it was shot throughout the decades. I think that there were alterations in the way that it would, looked. So I forget where I read that, but it's one of those things. I don't have the Roku channel, and so I can't really, just go and watch it. So I've been reading about it a little bit just because it is interesting, and I used to love Weird Al.
But yeah, none of us have seen this movie. We know it's out now, making it relevant. But Weird Al, the music, I think all of us have experienced Weird Al, the music. And he's talented, of course. He's fantastic at writing lyrics, which are
Amish
ridiculous
Paradise.
and fun. Amish Paradise, wonderful. He's parodied Star Wars, Madonna, Michael Jackson, everything. He's parodied everything that was popular.
Jurassic Park.
And he kind of set the standard for parody music as well. And also, if he was making just regular music using his talents that he actually has, his musical talents, because I think he can play the accordion really well, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's one of his instruments that he is
World class
accordionist. Is that accordionist? Would that be the right
I have
word?
no idea.
We don't know.
I think it's accordionologist.
I like that a lot better because he probably did study it
sounds
too.
Weird Al-ish.
Yeah, it really does.
Accordionologist.
He's gonna hear this and start dressing like an archaeologist.
But his fame, I don't think would have gotten to where it did without his parody that he did. And he set the standard for it. And then we have bands like Ninja Sex Party, which they parody more of a genre as opposed to specific bands, because the main guy in it, Danny Sexbang, he always wears this leotard that with a cape on it. So he's that style, that what the glam rock. I think it was the glam rock was that style.
Yep.
But it's just they parody the style of music. And even Tenacious D is kind of a parody of rock. You know, right? I mean, they kind of set their own standard there, but they are a parody of that genre, right? Because it's all jokes, it's all funny.
No.
It's comedy music.
It's comedy
Tenacious
music.
D is the greatest rock band ever to exist.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I will add the word parody in there.
God, they do such a good job of it. But just because, it's the spirit that counts in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that when Weird Al was making all this parody music, I think he had a lot of that spirit behind there. Like, because that spirit of creativity that goes into not only making a song, making a funny parody of it to actually hit in a comedic way, that's its own talent.
Yeah.
To take the same melody, not missing even syllables and stuff up in the way that it's sang, but having completely different words and meaning, and people can get joy from that just as much as they got joy from the original hit song. The man's a saint.
Yeah. And he takes the thing, like you said, and it makes it about something completely different. It's not even like saying the same message, but in a funny way, or saying the opposite of it. It's taking like a virgin and then making it a doctor doing surgery. It's nothing
I remember he
to
did
do with her song.
All About the Benjamins. It was like a rap song. I don't even know who, but he made it all about the Pentiums. So he was like this computer nerd, He was acting like he was like this drug dealer. It's all about the Pentiums, baby.
And the Star Wars song, I don't remember the name.
Saga Begins.
Saga Begins is the name of the song.
Yep.
And it was a parody of...
It was a parody of The Day That the Music Died, American Pie.
American Pie. Okay. And has nothing to do with the original American Pie song, but he took the melody and turned it into something incredible. And his works were based off of other people's fame and their success, but he was able to make it his own. And I think for a lot of people, he got their permission to do the parodies that he did, but I think there were some that he didn't. I don't think he got Michael Jackson's permission. Did he?
He got Michael's
He
permission.
did get Michael's? Who did he not get their permission?
Coolio's for Gangster's Paradise.
Oh, really?
He did not
That's
get
one
that
of his most famous ones.
He did not get that for Amish Paradise. He and Coolio beefed for a second over it.
Is that right?
Yes, but the beef was short-lived because as soon as Coolio got beef with Weird Al, everybody defended Weird Al against Coolio because they're like, he parodied fucking Michael Jackson and Michael was okay with it. Who are you?
Right.
Well, I mean, Coolio was struggling for relevancy at the time, so that makes, in my mind, you more relevant again, because people are going to go, okay, this parody's funny. Let's see how it matches up to the original. Yeah. And now all of a sudden, people are listening to your stuff again, whereas they just completely forgot about your existence.
Yeah, I guarantee the sales of his stuff went up after the popularity of Weird Al's song.
And I like Fat better than I like Bad, because the beginning statement of the song Bad is Michael Jackson saying, "Your butt is mine." But I don't get down. I'm like, that's okay. But then you go to Weird Al's, "Your butt is wide." Well, mine is too. It's good. Redemption. I like this.
And the video to go with it. The video was hilarious.
When you're just eating seconds, I'm eating 23rds.
Like us at Golden Corral.
Absolutely.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, not to get into Golden Corral again.
No.
But I think Weird Al is the king of parody when it comes to music. Like there's no one that can touch that crown that he holds in it. And naturally, moving on from the music, my mind starts to think of movies, of parodies of movies, and just there's so many of them out there. And as we were talking before, I think it was at the end of our last recording session, we started talking about this idea of parodies, and we started naming some movies, and we're like, well, is that a comedy or is it an actual parody? And sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between the two. So just a basic one-sentence definition of parody, just so while we're going through some ideas through our heads and stuff so we can actually label it this, we can see if we're right or not. An imitation of the style of a particular writer, artist, or genre with deliberate exaggeration for comic effect. So...
Well, and I also kind of take it as like you're riffing on the original too. Like,
yeah.
Like take an actual concept and make fun of that concept.
Yeah.
Like only.
And that's an even more boiled down version of this definition, I feel like. It's just taking a riff on something that already exists.
Right. But I guess I'm maybe being more specific, like in the sense of like, that's a parody on Titanic. Like they parodied that movie, that specific movie, or that specific song.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're right, like within the definition, it's like Ninja Sex Party, like they're parodying the entire genre.
Right. Yeah, and Weird Al is a particular parody, like of one single thing.
Right.
Right. Okay, yeah, so there are differences. The umbrella for parody isn't super wide, but it can cover different areas, such genres, as something broad like genre or something specific like one particular artist.
Well, to go from one great being Weird Al to another great, Mel Brooks, the absolute pinnacle of parody movies, Mel Brooks. I mean, you had Spaceballs, Robin Hood Men in Tights, The History of the World, all of them gold.
Yep.
Just wonderful, hilarious, non-wholesome movies. And then you get into Scary Movie, and it's still okay. And then you get into the direct that they're putting out now, like the 300 or whatever that one is about the Spartans.
Oh, Meet the Spartans.
Meet the Spartans. Yeah, there's a parody of 300, and it's just like, ugh.
Well, that's where you get the difference in this. Like a while ago, you were talking about the movies that are intentionally done poorly.
Yeah,
I forgot the name. What were the name of those?
Maybe that.
Like Mockbusters.
Yeah.
Yes.
That wasn't me. That was Marcus.
It was Marcus. Okay. Yeah. So with a mockbuster, it takes talent to do the thing so bad, but do it in a good way with intention. Everything is done with intention. And I feel like that's where as time goes on and more parodies are made of certain genres or certain films, you get to where they start to get muddied and kind of watered down, because if you don't go hard with the parody and you do everything with intention and do it well, it's just going to seem like a straight to DVD kind of situation.
Yeah.
Like whenever I think of The Naked Gun, like growing up, that was one that I'd seen.
Yeah, that was
Airplane.
a good one too.
Yeah. Those are Leslie Nielsen, the main actor in that.
Spy Hard.
Before these types of movies, he was like a serious actor. You know, you just kind of blended in with everybody else. Of course, he had the white hair to set him apart, but you know, he's just part of any other role. But then he gets a part of the Naked Gun series and Airplane, and he's the quintessential parody actor for me when I think of an actor in these films.
He also made the scariest movie that I ever seen as a child.
What was that?
Dracula Dead and Loving It.
Dead and Loving It, yes.
Then as an adult, it's a hilarious thing.
It's so good.
You know, definitely a parody of the whole Dracula horror thing.
Yes. But Leslie Nielsen just somehow was able to embody that I am a parody of this type of character and carry it beyond anything I've ever seen, even since then, because those movies are a lot older than us. But like an example, they would even, as the camera is moving from one room to another in a regular film, the camera would just kind of appear in the next room or follow them through a doorway or something like that. But for this, it even shows like the set wall in between, like separating the two rooms. And the camera will go past that to where you see the separation, and then the actor themselves will walk on the other side of that barrier as well, to where they're just walking across the wrong part of the set. And there's no referencing it. There's no talking about it while it's happening. They're just doing it.
It's like they're purposefully trying to break that suspense of disbelief.
Yes.
For comedy purposes.
Absolutely.
I saw one where the cameraman runs into the wall following the actor through the doorway.
Yes. And the movies like that, there's so many little things like that happen that are so funny that you end up needing to watch the movies multiple times because you're laughing through the next joke. It's one that it hits one after another. And I think every time I've seen The Naked Gun, like I've noticed something else that made me laugh because I was laughing during that part the last time I saw it. And those types of movies stand out a whole lot more to me than like the original types of movies that they're parodies of. Think of 007 and Austin Powers. I've seen way more Austin Powers movies and seen them multiple times, way more times than I have a 007 film.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about 007, but I do about Austin Powers.
I had a little bit of research a second ago that I had to go through because a brain heard something that was happening, and I realized that we could also hop back as well because there was a movie made in 1989. I remember seeing this that Weird Al actually starred in. It was called UHF. And UHF is a parody movie. Weird Al plays a guy named George who's like this up-and-coming like daydreamer who just wants to be involved with the movie business and wants to be involved with television and this and that. And it goes through different scenes throughout this movie where there are parodies of the like these top blockbuster hits of like Rambo, and here's Weird Al in this Rambo costume carrying out these Rambo actions.
I've seen that image before, but I didn't know it was actually from a movie.
Yeah, that's where it comes from, is from UHF. And he's imitating a lot of different stuff. I mean, different things that are not really relevant nowadays, but like old shows like Mr. Ed and Green Acres and different things that would be on the TV on reruns and stuff. It would like he would project himself into these shows, and it would be his own version of these shows that was happening too. So I just thought that was pretty funny. I had to figure out where that came from in my brain.
Yeah, so he has already dipped his toes into film, like the parody film realm, not just music. But back to Austin Powers, how do you guys feel about Austin Powers versus 007? Like, which do you enjoy more?
Austin Powers for sure. I can't really even tell you that much about 007 just because they're spy movies. Like, oh, there's a baddie. Ooh, there's a twist. Ooh, there's a plot. Ooh, there's a monologue. Oh, he escaped. Next movie. Guess what happens?
Well, I feel like for me personally, you have to specify which era of James Bond for me to make a good decision, because like current James Bond, terrible. Like I seen the newest one, awful. Skyfall, couldn't tell you what happened. That was the one before this one, which I can't even tell you the name of.
No idea.
Casino Royale or something.
No, that was
Skyfall. I think
that was Blonde Bond.
No, that was the same one. Just he had Pierce Brosnan as Bond was the Bond in the 90s. Like the world is
about that.
Like Die Another Day. The world is not enough.
Yeah.
MF Goldeneye.
But even with 007, we've had all these different actors play that role of 007 throughout the years. There's only one Austin Powers. There's only one Michael Myers that plays, that I imagine one human being as the character of Austin Powers, and I can't imagine anybody else playing him.
No,
actually, there is
could.
another Michael Myers.
Well, he's the scary man.
That's a different Michael Myers. We're talking about Mike.
Technically, there is another Michael Myers. There's probably a few more in the phone book if we had those around still.
Yeah.
See, I remember as a child, okay, I had a friend that thought Mike Myers and Michael Myers was the same person and was a true story.
Wait, which part?
All of it.
He thought that Mike Myers, the actor?
Mike Myers, the actor, was the same as Mike Myers, the character serial murderer.
The undead murder man.
Yes. And he also thought that it was a true story.
This sounds like a parody of a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, we were also like 12.
Oh, man. What a horrible life inside of his mind would exist.
Right? What is this? What are these news shows?
Why are they letting him be a funny 007 man? He should be in jail.
He's murdering so many people. The creepy mask.
So once he puts on his mask, that's when he gets his powers and he becomes evil. It's just like The Mask with Jim Carrey. In the 80s, they started doing Rolling Stone interviews and started doing all these filmed interviews of these big name bands. And they started following them on like tours and studio productions and everything, and making documentaries about it and behind the musics and this and that. So then comes the movie Spinal Tap. Mm-hmm. Spinal Tap was done in that mockumentary style, to where they had to make these people act as much like these raunchy, douchey musicians as they could. You know, just like, well, our amps go up to 11. You know, well, why don't you just make 10 louder? The our amps go all the way to 11. Like, it's just that, it's the point of it. It's a really good parody movie of those behind the scenes band interview kind of things.
Is it like with Austin Powers? It's directly parodying 007. Is Spinal Tap a direct parody of any specific band, or is it just the genre of that type of music?
They pull from so many different bands in there. It's hard to even say. Like the Robert Plant having a hidden weapon in his britches kind of thing, because his pants used to be so tight, used to like look like he was trying to like make sausages or something. It was ridiculous. But they got in trouble at the airport because they were doing that same thing, and that was their look, and the guy was so proud of it. And then he pulls out a aluminum foil wrapped zucchini from his pants. And he was setting off the metal detector.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was the movie's good. The movie's cheesy. The movie's old now. But if you like any of those behind the musics or any of those old band documentaries, you'll see the humor in it, and it's absolutely funny.
Yeah. I think there's a reason that the movies that are direct parodies of one specific thing there aren't as many of those as the ones that parody a genre, because once someone does a successful parody of a specific thing, it's really hard to do that again and do it successfully.
Yeah.
Like, because then you're almost a parody of the parody. And at that point, like Tiny said, that's two negatives. You're just going to end up being the original thing to begin with. Right. But like with Austin Powers, I'm sure there are more 007 parodies out there.
Spy Hard with Leslie Nielsen.
Which predates
and was,
Austin Powers,
in my mind, even better.
Well, plus
that was definitely before.
They could be basing it off of other spy fiction as well. I mean, there's others besides 007.
Yeah, 007 just has, it's like you said, it's in that genre, so it has all the same tropes that any other secret spy movie has, but it's like Austin Powers was like a direct ripoff of James Bond.
Yeah.
And then something like Galaxy Quest and Spaceballs, those two are direct parodies of Star Trek and Star Wars. Spaceballs even more so, because I think even Galaxy Quest has some like heartfelt real moments in it to where it's not just 100% stupid parody. But it's obvious that Star Trek is what it's the parody of. But with Spaceballs...
Hey, it had a heartfelt moment when they got their Schwartz tangled together.
Yep. It's all just such a thick layer of the comedy in every single thing that they do.
Comb the desert.
We ain't found shit.
We're reaching ludicrous speed.
And it's very quotable. It's something that a lot of people that wouldn't normally probably like parody movies, just because the quality of a parody movie is hit or miss, much more miss than hit. But with Spaceballs, it just held on, and there's not been, I think Family Guy does their little episodes here and there of their Star Wars parodies.
Mm-hmm. Some of them are funny.
Some of them are, but again, more of them aren't than are.
Yeah.
Because being able to do a parody of something so successful, you've got to do it right, and you've got to go hard the way Spaceballs did, to where they did not pull back on anything. They said every bit of this universe, we are going to make fun of it. And nothing, I don't think anyone's touched it since, as far as like a mass movie to come out to parody Star Wars. I don't think it's been done since Spaceballs. But then again, now the copyright stuff and things like that, I'm sure Disney just wouldn't allow it to begin with if somebody did try to do another Spaceballs type movie.
It's possible. I don't know.
But Spaceballs is one of those that it's a direct parody of something, and in Weird Al fashion, just nails it, the entire thing. Like, if you love Star Wars, you probably love Spaceballs, even though it's making fun of everything that you love about Star Wars. It just does it in a way that you agree with it. You get it.
Right. And those scary movies, like they make fun of the whole genre as well. Like, they're taking stuff from Nightmare on Elm Street and
Scream,
Friday the 13th, Scream, The Shining, all of it.
Like anything that they can find something that they can put into those movies, they're going to put into those movies. And some of the most ridiculous comedy exists within those movies. Like, take my strong hand, which is never what he said. It's a misremembered line.
What, really?
Yes.
He doesn't say take my strong hand?
Nope. He never says take my strong hand. He says my hand's not strong enough. Take my other hand.
Really?
Yep.
I've always heard so many people, including myself, quote that incorrectly then.
Yep. I saw that on the internet the other day, and I had to look it up. So
I thought they said take my strong hand in the parody.
that's the
That is the parody.
That is the parody.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
But
Yeah.
he doesn't actually say that, apparently.
no.
Plus, what is that a parody of?
I
Like
don't
the whole
even
strong.
know.
Like it might just be
Just-
something they came up
just
with.
like-
Yeah,
It's
probably.
from Rose Red.
Oh, really? So
Yeah,
it is
the butler in Rose Red had a shrivel hand.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yep.
See, I've seen a Scary Movie, and I'm sure there are a lot of references in it that I don't get because
Right,
I've not
right.
seen a lot of horror
That
movies.
particular one had a lot of things from Rose Red in it. Wasn't that the third one?
Scary Movie 3, I think it might have been. Scary Movie 1 or 2 had the ghost sex scene, and then that was supposed to
Hot.
be it was gross, awful, and like this lady spent the rest of the time haunting the ghost after they had sex. And she's like, "Why don't you ever talk to me anymore? You gave me crabs." It was just they're very raunchy and
Most
they're
people
very
like crab legs.
Ugh.
The same people that made that also made Not Another Teen Movie, right?
Yep.
And I think they've also made one called Superhero Movie.
Disaster movie,
Disaster movie.
epic
Yeah.
movie,
Epic movie.
Yeah,
They've
I've never
kind
seen any of those though.
They've kind of made themselves, okay, we're the ones that do the genre parody now. Like we make the ones that they're awful, but they have quotable moments in them to where
mean,
we still remember them.
Not Another Teen Movie was actually pretty funny.
that was
It
the
was,
first.
yeah.
That was one of the first ones.
Had a lot of Varsity Blues references.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And Chris Evans, I believe, was the main guy in that one.
Yes, he
Yeah,
was.
I think.
Yeah.
And he did a great job in the comedy role of it. And again, it was one of those movies to where I remember more of Not Another Teen Movie and more of Scary Movie than I do of other movies of that genre because they all blend together so much. And I haven't seen many of them because normally I wouldn't want to see just a regular horror film because I don't have an interest in that. But add comedy to it, and all of a sudden I'm in. And just like Not Another Teen Movie, a lot of those movies are not geared towards me to watch. But Not Another Teen Movie's version of it is the reason why I don't watch those movies because they make fun of all the stuff that I find hilarious. And so the comedy versions of these connect with people that both dislike the genres that they're the parody of and people that love the genre they're a parody of because they're getting all the references. So it's this little sweet spot of being able to pull in people from both sides
Yeah,
that we can all enjoy it.
I wonder if Mean Girls is like that.
Mean
Is
Girls-
that a parody of like a teen movie kind of?
No, I think that was actually just a movie.
Yeah, I think it's just a movie.
I don't
I
even
don't
know what that
know.
movie
They kind of
is.
take those tropes and I don't know.
Super exaggerated. Yeah,
Right,
but that's
because I feel like that one kind of brings in people from both sides, people who wouldn't necessarily watch a high school teen drama.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
Well, like Legally
It's actually a
Blonde.
good movie.
I think like when I think of Mean Girls, I think something like Legally Blonde. It's a lawyer movie, and at
Right.
the same time, the kind of the same realm that Mean Girls is in, and fuse those in there, like the
okay, I can see it.
But I don't know if those would be parodies or not
I don't know.
because I don't know if they're. I think a parody has to be thick in the comedy, like comedy forward throughout the entire thing with little moments of
I
seriousness.
feel like
Was
Mean Girls
was
Mean
it?
Girls is
I thought
comedy.
it had more
Yeah.
heartfelt stuff
No,
in it
dude.
than comedy.
No, absolute.
I mean,
I
there
haven't
are
seen
there
that.
are some heartfelt, like the whole kind of main message at the
Yeah.
end is
On
like,
Wednesdays we wear pink. That's the main message, right?
Yeah, that's the main one I got from it.
No, not really. I mean, I just remember the young little girl, like Regina George's little sister, is always watching like the worst trash TV and like mimicking everything she sees on it. Like, and she has a couple different scenes where she's just watching stuff she should not be watching and just mimicking it. I don't know. There are a lot of comedic.
Maybe it's
beats.
been so long since I've seen it that I
It's
don't
a good
remember it
movie.
being
I actually think it's a good movie.
that heavy. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people like that movie.
It is.
And like you
It's a good
said,
movie.
people that you wouldn't normally watch a movie in that genre,
Right, but it's good.
but you liked it.
And
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams was in it.
Yeah,
And it's hard to think like Rachel McAdams, Amanda Seyfried.
and she does great.
Yeah, like they became bigger name actresses afterwards, but this is like one of their like big breakthrough roles. Crazy.
Sometimes those types of movies make more of an impact than most of the ones in their genre themselves, like Blazing Saddles in the Western, the spaghetti Western style movie or whatever. Once Blazing Saddles came out, I can't remember which one of you had told me this when we were talking about the Western genre a while back, but people didn't want to touch Westerns after Blazing Saddles came out because of its popularity and because of how they subverted the entire genre in that and made a wonderful parody of what that type of movie is. So all of a sudden it was like they killed the Western film.
And one of the most famous on-screen farts of all time.
Really? It's been so long since I've seen it. What was this fart?
Well, I've never seen it, but I was researching a potential topic a while ago, and we may still get around to it.
I would love to.
But apparently that was around the time, because it was a 70s movie, right?
I think so, 70s or 80s.
And so they were trying to kind of like stick it to the censorship people, and like the laws had just kind of changed. I don't know. It was a big moment for farting in fiction. Farting finally got like heard.
Good.
All the best ones have
good.
been.
It's a gift from the universe. It's a little bit of methane in just the right spot
Well,
with the right amount of tension. Otherwise, it just go.
And my memory could fail me here, but if I remember my slight research into the subject, they were all just, because you always see them eating beans in a Western movie, and so they were all just around the fire eating beans, and then they just start. And they just all start
Back
doing
and
it.
forth.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a
Yeah.
little part in my brain that's playing that in my head right now because I do remember it slightly. Oh, so at the same time of Blazing Saddles killing the Western genre of film, it birthed the fart on screen.
The potty humor genre.
Good. Which really, this podcast wouldn't exist without those farts.
Which is why I wanted to do the most iconic farts of TV and movie history.
Well, we can.
We'll get around to it.
Yeah, we can even do a whole episode on toilet humor and just check and see how far we can get from that.
Yes. There'll be so many bleeps.
I kind of feel like Shallow Hal might have been a little bit of a like a romantic comedy subversion kind of thing of a parody. Like if you think about it, because he kind of flips it on its head by of course he's seeing like the romantic comedy take forth like in front of his face, but in reality they're like these really, really big people. But I don't really think that movie really holds up too well for standards on what
a parody is.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Mean Girls isn't, then you can't have that one.
Fine,
Yeah,
Shallow
if
Hal.
Mean Girls isn't
Yeah.
Shallow Hal, I don't know if it, but that's where the whole, okay, where's the line? Like, where do you draw the line of this is just a comedy?
I think because
This
like
is a
it
parody.
making fun of a
Yeah.
specific genre or a
Right.
specific, but I don't know. But it does fall apart because I
Yeah.
feel like Mean Girls definitely started out of that. But honestly, I feel like a lot of times you can start something out as a parody and just creatively it becomes like it like some sort of new life gets breathed into it. And a lot of times, things that don't take themselves all that seriously end up being more impactful.
Well, Princess Bride, for instance, that movie, just the parody on that type of story. The Princess Bride is one of the most famous stories in that genre. And it's just a really funny, ridiculous movie, but it's done so well. They knew the faults of that genre and they played them to their strength. And that gets to the point like, okay, where do you point out the faults in something that's doing that on purpose?
Right, because I mean, here's the thing. We kind of had this conversation off air, but we talked about like, is The Boys a parody? Because it's something that maybe in its infancy stages started out that way, but then it became its own thing. But it definitely is trying to make fun of the superhero genre.
Right. But it makes fun of it in its own serious
Well,
way.
yeah,
You
right.
have to take into consideration, is a parody inherently a comedy?
Yeah.
Because if a parody is inherently a comedy, you can look at The Boys and go, this is not inherently a comedy. There are comedic moments to break up all the dark, heavy.
Yeah.
But in my mind, a parody is specifically a comedy.
Yeah, it has
Yeah,
to
I guess
to have deliberate exaggeration for comedic effect.
Yeah.
But
So
like you said,
definitely not
it
The
can
Boys.
start off that way.
Yeah.
But it has so much more to it that it's no longer
Maybe it's more of a critique of the genre.
Yeah.
I could buy that.
Definitely.
I could buy that orange and eat it in the shower.
Whereas a parody is more of like, let's make fun of it for laughs.
Yeah.
Right. Like Happy Gilmore for a golf movie, like Bagger Vance. Bagger Vance?
Bagger Vance.
Bagger Vance.
Bagger Vance was
I don't
after.
feel well, so
I th-
I'm mixing
I
up
think,
letters.
I think Happy Gilmore might have been more of a tin cup.
Tin Cup. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. That should be more around the time frame.
Yeah.
All
definitely.
I know is whatever happened after Happy Gilmore, I don't know which direction was right because I've never heard of any of that.
Of what?
all that stuff that you said after Happy Gilmore.
You never seen the
I didn't know that any of that was incorrect until you just no, this is wrong. But is it this or is it that? I don't know.
No,
I'm like, is he saying a racial slur? What is happening?
No, Happy Gilmore is, again, a really famous comedy, but it's also up there in sports movies. Like, if people want to see a good sports movie, one of the best golf ones is going to be Happy Gilmore, even though it's a parody of the whole thing.
You can also bring in The Water Boy.
For a football, yes,
Yeah.
a parody of a football team and the whole, I don't know,
Major League.
remember the Titans, stuff like that.
Because that is like a parody on college movies where people are going to college and learning new things, and and he feels like he's already got all this knowledge and everything, and he's really willing to give his answers, and then Colonel Sanders decides to tell him he's wrong. Nope, Mama's wrong again.
No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
My mama said alligators are so ornery because of all the empty teeth and no toothbrush.
I wonder when specific characters can be a parody, but the movie itself not be, because I'm sure that happens a lot in comedy, to where you know who this character is a parody of, but the shell surrounding them in the entirety of the movie itself isn't a parody, because like Zoolander is like its own thing, but the main characters in it are parodies of people in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's not a parody of a specific film or media per se. It's a parody of a whole workforce.
You're just making
it's
so
weird.
many generalizations.
I'm having to.
No, I'm saying that's what they do. Like
Yeah.
they're generalizing models and
Yes.
saying that they're all stupid,
Right.
Which is part of what makes it hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to steer us back again to the definition of parody,
Uh-huh.
because it is funny and it's making fun of a thing, but does it have to inherently be making fun of another form of media?
It's an imitation. So they're
I don't
imitating.
know.
I'm
I don't know if they're
just trying to
imitating.
help
But the
clear
media
up that
itself,
gray.
right.
I think you're right.
The
Yeah.
shell isn't a parody, but the characters within it are. Right? Is that what
I
is
would
that what
call
you're
it a
saying?
stereotype.
Well,
maybe.
I'm just saying, I guess in a way I'm disagreeing that Zoolander's not a parody. It
Uh-huh.
is making fun of models and all the weird fashion show stuff.
Uh-huh.
But does it have to be a particular form of media in order to be considered a parody?
Yes.
I don't know.
Because
it does?
I think so.
Okay.
yeah,
Like you
so
said, it has to be imitating some form of media.
So I
Right.
don't think that one necessarily classifies.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
so either.
I mean, it's kind of in that gray area. I'm just trying to help clear up that gray fog.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about. Where can something that's not a parody have parody in it, I guess?
probably.
And I guess it can.
yeah,
But because
well,
I mean, when you think of the boys in itself, I think we can agree, not a parody, but within it, some characters are like just there.
well,
for
and think about
comedic
their
effect.
movies. Think about the movies that the boys make, or like the seven.
Yeah.
You know, Homelander's always got a new movie coming out,
Yeah.
and those are parodies. You
Right.
know, those are
It's-
I think what you're saying is right.
Right.
There are some parody elements,
Yeah, I can agree
but
with that.
the work in itself is not a
Right.
parody.
The shell
Yeah.
isn't, but there's a nut in there that is.
yeah, I
gross.
can go with that. There's a walnut in there buried inside.
There are a lot of different movies too that we didn't mention that were parodies on stuff like sports movies. Charlie Sheen was in a couple of sports parody movies called Hot Shots and Hot Shots 2, to where they were like this baseball team that, of course, had just this ragtag group of people in there that are having to come together and become an actual baseball team.
You're describing Major League. He was in those movies too.
Oh, Major League, was that it?
Hot Shots was the
Oh, that's the more like the Top Gun.
Top Gun, yeah, like a Top Gun kind of thing. But war movies in general, one of the most famous ones that at least come out in our time is Tropic Thunder. And that movie is quintessential parody of that genre. But at the same time, it's also a behind the scenes kind of thing too, because you're following the actors playing out these roles in a real war situation that they don't know is real. It's its own thing, but at the same time, it's definitely a parody of that whole genre, and they lay it on thick, very thick.
Definitely not an okay movie by today's standards.
I'm
For
the dude.
several reasons. That's one reason.
I'm the dude playing the dude disguised as the other dude.
Yeah, but in that, they also knew how wrong that is, and they made sure they knew that how wrong it is because everyone's like, you can't do that. You can't do what you're doing. This is awful.
He's giving him this big motivational speech about how their people are beaten down, but now they in the big league. That's just the theme song to the Jeffersons. Just because it's the theme song doesn't mean it ain't true.
Never in a million years would I think the guy that plays Iron Man would also play that role. And Tom Cruise is also in that movie as well as their like producer or boss or whatever.
Yeah.
He is in that movie, and I didn't even know that was him until the credits rolled because he's in like a fat suit in it, and he's changed his voice so much that I didn't even realize it was him until the end. But that's another one of those.
Black is in it.
Yes, he is. It's another one of those movies where I'm like, okay, of all the war movies I've ever seen, so few do I actually like, and I'm going to put Tropic Thunder in there.
I think I've only seen it one time. I need to watch it again.
Yeah, you do.
I think
It's so good.
It's better on rewatches.
And sometimes you don't have the amount of money to make an entire film production that's making fun of another movie because there's got to be a lot of hesitancy within the production of these movies because they're like, if this isn't perfect, it's going to be a straight to DVD thing you find in the bin at Walmart, and we're not going to get the amount of money we put into it.
Or worse, a Dollar General.
Right, yeah. But I think that's where maybe TV shows come in to where they're like, we don't want to spend as much money as a movie on this, but we could make a season of a show, and if it's successful, we can make another one. Like with Reno 911, I'm sure that could have started out, and they've made Reno 911 the movie, like they've made that, but that was long after the success of the show, and it is a perfect parody of Cops.
Yeah, it's so well done that there's a scene from the show that every now and then goes around Facebook and people thinks it's a real traffic stop.
Oh hell, you're a great dancer.
Yes,
no, it's just because I'm drunk.
It tickles me every time that somebody's like, "Can you believe the police officer did this?" I'm like, come on, are you that stupid?
You can't tell that's a pair.
Great.
Nick Swartzen in that show was my favorite. Just he was the crack whore boy on roller skates.
Yes, he was.
He was.
But that even in that show, I think is the moment you're talking about, Tiny. People think it's real because it's filmed from a cop camera inside of a cop
it's
car.
all black and white and grainy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they do that. They get you so immersed in it by doing these like body cam or these inside the police car cameras and the different angles and stuff to where they're following them while they're driving in the car. It's shot to shot, filmed the way Cops is, but every single moment in it is pure comedy. None of it is for anything serious at all. And it ran for so many seasons, and then even got to the point where they made a movie. So it was one of those to where they're like, we need this to be a show instead of putting all this money into a movie because the Cops was a show. So why not do the same thing that they did?
What the world needs now are short cop shorts.
That's what always needs that.
That's what they thought. But I really a couple of the guys from Reno 911 actually came to our local college and talked and did this little thing, and at your workplace, one of them autographed a picture and put it up on the wall because he is from this town.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Garcia.
Yeah, his picture is at my work with a signature on it. It's true. I know.
I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying, how did I not know this?
That's okay. That's why you've got me. Miscellaneous information in a chair.
Look, the next time some random niche person comes to this town for any reason and you're aware of it, please tell me. I want to see them too.
You have to go ask them if they're Hulkamania.
I do. I need to ask them if they are their catchphrase. I can't do that if I don't know that they're here.
One of my favorite blues guitarists ever was in town. His name's Joe Bonamassa, and he was in town shopping at our guitar store randomly, and that was like a block from where I was working at the time. So I get it, Tiny. It's upsetting to know these things.
It is. It hurts me all the way to my soul.
Have you ever seen anything about the Eric Andre show?
Oh,
yes.
Parody of a talk show, if there ever was one.
Parody of a talk show to where everything he does is absolute absurdity, to the point of sometimes whenever the guests are on, I think most of the guests, they don't tell them exactly what's going to happen. So sometimes they don't know what they're getting themselves into because they know to an extent, like, but the specifics of what he's going to do, I don't think they know the specifics because they never go on to it. Yeah, without knowing this is a comedy situation, just like Between Two Ferns.
Yes,
of his thing being a parody of a interview show with famous people. But Eric Andre will have people run out of the audience and power slam him into his desk and it break into a million pieces.
He breaks his desk like every episode.
He shot Hannibal Buress just right there, dead in the middle of stage, just shot him. And the people that were on there, they're just like, like they don't, he throws these sideways questions that shouldn't be said and he just waits for a response. They had a porn star on there once named Asa Akira and they were just talking to her about these prolific acting questions. He's got.
Where can I watch this show?
Speaking of which,
it's Adult Swim.
Adult movies can be funny parodies sometimes.
Pirates.
That one wasn't funny, but it was a. I don't know if that was a. Yeah, that's a parody.
It's a parody.
It's a pornity.
I would never watch something like that, Mom. Hold on.
Wait.
I literally just had something hit me.
What did it sound like?
Marcus knew he would awaken something.
Does this mean that the Jerry Springer show and Judge Jerry Springer, are they parodies?
Yes.
Because I feel like they are after talking about that show.
No, Jerry Springer was supposed to be just the raunchiest, trashiest thing that was like a talk show.
Was it not hilarious?
There were people from our hometown there, Dane.
I was not on there.
No, you weren't, but the guy that
said it like he was.
But the guy that lived in the van with his wife and then she beat him, but he liked it. They were from Sparta. It was great.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know, because the show in itself, I don't think is a parody, but I think they knew the result was going to be parody-like, because these people are so out there and strange and weird that it does seem like it couldn't be real. And I don't know how much of it is, of course, embellished.
I'm sure a lot of
that. It has to be, because it's all entertainment television.
Yeah.
Because these people are being made fun of to live or a live audience and everyone at home. But it is weird because it is so comedic compared to all the other things like it. But I don't know if it would technically be a parody or not. I don't know. Good question, Tiny.
Yeah, it hit me like a bolt of lightning around the top of the dome.
This is something I've been thinking all week, is just thinking of different comedies and, okay, is this a parody or not? Are we a parody of a podcast?
We definitely are.
I think we are. I think you can take a few parts of a lot of different podcasts and smush them together.
Add it to our pound tags.
And we're there. Yeah. We're a parody podcast. Sometimes it goes beyond movies and TV shows to things like podcasts or video games and board games too. Because in video games, the two main ones I could think of, Conker's Bad Fur Day was something akin to like Banjo-Kazooie or Donkey Kong 64, but it was filled with just raunchy humor. It was not made for kids whatsoever, and you're this squirrel just running around making a bunch of sex jokes and a bunch of absurdity going on, and it was a parody of those games. And it was not made for children at all, which I think is a theme for a lot of parody content, not made for kids, because they really need to go into the nitty-gritty stuff for it to land.
Geriatric Park was definitely not made for children.
I don't think I've seen that.
No. Well, I can give you a link to a particular website.
I think I'd rather not.
That has a particular border scheme.
Please no.
I'll send it. I'll put it in the Google Drive.
The other game that came to mind being Saints Row, because Saints Row is a video game that is a parody of Grand Theft Auto. Because in Grand Theft Auto, you can still do ridiculous, funny stuff in it. But Saints Row says, no, you need to have a giant dildo sword be something that you're able to beat people into ragdolls with.
I killed so many cops with that.
But it's a game that they just say, okay, everything that Grand Theft Auto is, we're going to let you do everything that you wish you could do in that game because of how ridiculous it can be, to the point of even becoming a superhero. I think one of them, the main concept was you're a superhero that can do whatever you want, basically within a Grand Theft Auto
Pretty
setting.
much.
But those games, they're not, the writing is, again, hit or miss because of it. But being able to play the character inside of a parody of another video game that you've probably played, it's fun. It can either leave you wanting to play the other one because now you wish you had some regulations going on to keep you dialed into the world, or you just want to play this version of it because it lets you do whatever you want, which is what some people wish they could do whenever they're playing the original. And with board games, Hasbro, they parodied their own board games and came out with other board games that are parodies of the original ones that they made. Like with, there's one called Botched Operation. So it's still got basically the same pieces inside of the board. The board is the same shape, but there are cards in it to where maybe you have to like have someone is sitting there like wiggling their finger in your ear while you're doing the operation, or blindfold you, or have to sit with your back against a wall, like in your butt 90 degrees from the ground, whatever. All these other things that you can do with the game. And that was their kind of parody of their own thing. And then there's also the Game of Life Quarter Life Crisis, to where you start off with like $50,000 or $500,000 in debt, and you go through it, and it's a whole lot more relatable than the other one. There's Clue: What Happened Last Night, Lost in Vegas. It's basically The Hangover, but the board game.
It should have been called Hint.
Yeah, that would have been great, but it wouldn't have had their like Clue, be the main part of it, because they're wanting to just sell more things that they've made.
Right.
And then there's Sorry, Not Sorry. And that's basically just having have you ever cards inside of it, to where if you answer one or the other, you get to move so many spaces. And instead of, if your piece gets touched, it goes back to your home base and you basically start over. If your piece touches someone else's, then they can take it and basically keep it captive.
Gross.
Yeah, it's wild. And the last one I think they did was called Mystery Date Catfished. So their regular game Mystery Dates, where you're trying to find your mystery dream date in the game with questions and stuff. But in this one, there's cards in there that are going to catfish you into it, and you're trying to avoid that. But
That sounds kind of fun.
yeah, but this is also that whole like they're parroting themselves, but not so much to an extent that it's unrecognizable from their original content, because they're just wanting to make money off of it, adding on
It's like
to
a new
the other
spin
thing
of their old games.
It is.
Well, I mean, there's like you said, there's a few of those. There's one that come to my mind called Aggravation. It's like Sorry, but way more infuriating. You have Cards Against Humanity, which is played essentially the same as Apples to Apples,
Yeah.
but full of, I mean, we all know what Cards Against Humanity is full of.
The best.
It's hilarious.
Yeah,
yeah.
literally the best things in the world, like two shitting in a for all eternity.
Yeah.
And bees.
yeah.
Cards Against Humanity was, I think, the best. That's a great game parody right there, because Apples to Apples, there were a couple cards that you would, of course, take that chuckle dark spin to and be the
Rugged and Helen Keller.
Yes, exactly. You had your same ones you would always get, and they took that idea and they said, but what if all of the scenarios were like, who could be the worst? Like, who could be the worst human in this group? But the problem with that is it's not funny after you play it a few times.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen the combos, you've seen the cards, the shock's not there. Then you got to get an expansion pack, and then that's not funny. It's basically, with all the expansion packs, you probably got about 3 weeks of entertainment.
Well, in the point of that game, especially on the first play, they're trying to get you to think that you're the one that made up the funny thing. But they made up the funny things. You're just putting them in an order that you think is funny, or that other people will think are funny. So once you play it past that first time and you hear a few of the cards, that guise of I'm not the one coming up with all this funny stuff, that goes away. And so the magic of the game kind of vanishes, because you get it now.
They did release a pack of blank cards at one point,
To where you
that you
can
could fill in your own things.
Make your own. See, something like that, maybe you want to play more of, because you can make up whatever you want.
It would just be nerd stuff and farts for us.
It would. It'd be Nerd Through the Grapevine, the card game.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Now we've
TM.
got to figure that out.
TM. Nerd it through the card game. There. I don't know. I don't know. Right.
Grapes against humanity.
The Grapes of Wrath. No, that's already
Wait,
a
hold on.
thing.
I think that one's already done.
That one's already taken. We're taking it back.
Gilbert's grapes.
Well, I think that one's already a thing too.
I know. I was just riffing off of Tiny.
Oh, it's fine.
Grapes agape.
What?
Grapes agape.
Yeah, our hearts are wide open.
'Cause,
We're,
yeah.
we're open
Well,
books.
and when you laugh, you know, you're
Your
mouth is agape.
Your mouth is agape.
Yeah, agape.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Well, much like our Grapes Agape would be a parody on all of board game culture everywhere, this podcast has been a wonderful parody of ourselves. So thank you for listening on Spotify, iTunes, Good Pods, CastBox, blah, blah, blah. Give us 5 stars, please. Tell everybody why you love us or why you hate us. And then go to the links underneath this episode, wherever you're at. And you can click on it and you can go buy T-shirts and things with our logo on it.
And if you would like to discuss your favorite Weird Al song, since Weird Al is now on your brain, go ahead and let me know what your favorite Weird Al song is. Maybe I'll tweet him. Maybe he'll ignore it. Maybe it'll be like the rest of us on Twitter. But you can find out by getting on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook at Nerd Grapevine. Send me that message. I will respond at least. Or if you wanted to, you can get on Patreon, donate a little bit to the cause, and get a shiny holographic Nerd Through the Grapevine sticker and be able to unlock future content that we haven't put out yet. Look up Nerd Grapevine. And as you're singing your Weird Al songs, make sure people know that you did not make those lyrics up. You're not that funny. That man is funny. You're not that funny, because then you can have some copyright problems. You can have some lawsuit issues, and that would cause you to have a whole lot of
Rah, rah, roo, rah. I think that's my favorite cartoon part of that song.
rah, rah, roo, rah.
Yeah, because Scooby-Doo is awesome. And Scooby-Doo and Shaggy have a lot of discord in between them. You can find a link in the description. Lift the leg of this episode and look down in the crotch box. I don't know why I said that, but look in there. There's a link that'll take you right to us. We're on there. You can talk about all kinds of stuff. Tell us just anything. Anything you want to tell us. And I mean anything. I will listen to you. We're on there live, uncut, uncensored, and irrevocably circumcised.
Dane,
What?
when life gives you grapes.
I want to find out how to make fun of the grapes. I want to find out what all is a plot hole within the grapes themselves, and I want to make fun of them, and I want people to laugh at the grapes instead of like being like, "Oh yeah, that would be a nice wine. Ooh, that's got a good nose to it. Look at the legs on that wine." I want them to be able to look at the grapes and be able to laugh at the fun nature of it. I don't know, maybe put it in like put them in a Capri Sun pack and label them Wine Mom's Day Out or something, so that way they could take it with them on the road, and it's made of grapes, and it's a funny thing.
I completely spaced out, but I agree with every word you said.
I wouldn't do anything else. I spaced out in the middle of it while I was like,
Penis.
no, that's not what it was.